Before we begin reading in the Gemara, I just want to make note, I think the right thing to do to make note of the fact that today is Chav Zayin Adar Aleph, the 27th of the first month of Adar. And it's a significant day in Chabad because, not for a good reason actually, but because today was their day the Rabbi suffered a stroke, became sick for 2 years, and eventually it was Gimel Tammuz. There was Rabbi's passing on the 3rd of Tammuz. So in the history of Chabad, this is not one of those celebrated days, but it's still a day that's on people's mind, obviously. And hindsight's 2020, obviously, and it's been 27 years since then. And people have been reading what their Rabbi has to say, reviewing, and as time goes on, you start to read and learn more and more and more. Start to see more of how the Rabbi not just prepared us, but set the course of action for how Chabad should operate going forward, and how Jews should behave going forward, with a very clear vision in sight, the ultimate coming of Mashiach, not just as a magical reward Hashem gives us, but as the way Tanya put it out, it's the ultimate conclusion of everything we're doing, not just as a reward for putting up with Golos to get a reward called Mashiach, but the way Chassidus understands it, the way we serve Hashem creates that reality of Mashiach. And Rebbe pushed that very strongly, and Rebbe set out a vision for that, which is what Chabadists are doing. This is what Mitzvah is all about. This is all the things that Chabad does is all for this thing. Good morning. Just one thing that becomes obviously clear, and this is something that people realize even right away, and that is a little while before the Rebbe suffered a stroke, the Rebbe talked about his father-in-law's speech. His father-in-law suffered multiple sclerosis before he passed, partially because of the suffering and torture he endured at the hands of the Russian communists who tortured him in jail. At any rate, he had a very hard time speaking, and towards the end of his life. And there were people who understood what he was saying and would listen and would relay his words. I heard one recording of him speaking in later years, one recording. It's a minute clip, and it's very difficult to understand what he's saying. He speaks very slowly, it's very hard to understand. And they talked about that. It's 40 years after his father-in-law passed away, and starts talking about his father-in-law's speech, and talking about how now that his father-in-law can't speak, it's up to us to speak for him and to spread his message. And people are looking at them like, it's been 40 years since he passed away, what are you talking about? And only a few weeks later, Rebbe suffered a stroke and himself couldn't speak. So that's one of those things that became quite clear. And that lends itself to a broader idea, which the Rebbe began, and especially towards later years, Rebbe talked about this idea, and they said, I'll tell you what the Rebbe said, and I'll give you my pirush. The Rebbe said was, and they said that there was this many times, that every Jew is a shliach. This notion of shluchim, this notion of messengers, that we should get out there, and that Rebbe sent messengers to go over the world and spread the word of Yiddishkeit and spread the word of godliness to the whole world, etc. And the Rebbe made this announcement more than once, that every Jew is my shliach, every chassid is my shliach. And to get the word out there, to spread the word of Yiddishkeit, spread the word of godliness, and bring the Shekhinah down here, which is what Mashiach is all about, bringing Hashem's presence into this world. So this idea of asking everyone to be a shliach, it's nice, but on the other hand, it's very risky. If you're a business owner and you're going to employ sales reps, you want to make sure that every sales rep you hire knows the merchandise, and as a human being is good enough to fit the standards of your company and standards of you, so that he can represent you. You're going to tell anybody that they can be your salespeople. It's risky. Have someone go out there and start selling your product, lying about it, or distorting it, or making you look bad, or whatever. But they never took that risk. Think about it. It's an amazing thing. Levi Nu's a nice guy, but who gave Levi Nu the ability to be their Bava Sherev's representative? And then they're announced that anybody can do it. There's not even no vetting. If you can go and teach and share, go teach and share and do it in my name. And if there's a risk, so be it. It's the ultimate giving that the Rabbi gave to his Chassidim. Is not just gave mission, not just gave Torah, but gave himself. Everybody can be my mouthpiece. Everybody and anybody, so long as you're spreading Torah, spreading godliness, spreading goodness, spreading Yiddishkeit and Chassidus, be my messenger, so be it. It's an unbelievable idea. It's something that today on Chav Zayin Adar, we definitely are thinking about. So I just want to share that before we get to the Gemara itself. Okay, we're on Lamed Beis Amud Aleph, 32a, and we're going to back up a little bit so that we can remind ourselves where we are, because it's been a couple of days since we did the Gemara. We took a little detour, 3 days to do halacha, the halacha on what kind of parchment we use. We did the halacha on whether or not you're supposed to do shirtut, the scoring, and that took us on a detour as to why we sit in the rain in the sukkah. But now we're back to the Gemara. So let's back up a little bit to get the conclusion of the Gemara's previous discussion, and we can go forward. So I'm looking for V'hilchas. Where is it? Sorry, Lamed Beis Amud Beis, 32b. That's why I can find it. Okay, the line starts with the word Hilchasa, V'hilchasa, and then right after the first word Hilchasa, the next word is Tefillin, and there's a little aleph before the word Tefillin. This is backing up a little bit just to get the conclusion. It's a little above halfway down the page. If you went halfway down the page, a little bit above that, is the line begins with the word V'hilchasa. No more copies, Robert?
No.
You can take a big Gemara, number Chaf, Menachot, the bottom shelf.
This one here?
Down, go down one.
Robert, you share with me.
Right there, yeah, that's it.
That's a right, alive right.
Here, you can take that. I'll
Save some time. Thank you.
Okay, Lamed Beis, 32b. The line begins the word V'hilchasa. So the Gemara went back and forth with respect to the law of shirtut, the law of scoring, that the Mezuza requires scratchings or scoring in the parchment so the lines are straight. And the Gemara concludes V'hilchasa, and the law is Tefillin, that the Tefillin loy boy shirtut does not require scoring in order for it to be valid.
That's the lines?
Yet the lines. So the halacha is Tefillin does not require it, and as we learned from the Alter Rebbe, that if it were the case that by scoring it, your Tefillin would in any way, shape, or form be nicer, straighter, more even, then go ahead and do it, even though you're not required to. But a Mezuza boy shirtut, Mezuza does require scoring. By halacha Moshe Sinai, as a tradition passed down from Moshe Rabbeinu received at Sinai, every Mezuza needs shirtut, needs scoring in order for it to be valid, otherwise it is invalid. And by the way, the Gemara mentioned as well, the Idi, both Tefillin and Mezuza, Nechtavis can be written, Shaloi min Aksav, don't need to be copied word for word from a text. So when you're writing a Torah, for example, so you couldn't do it from memory, you have a paper upon which the text is written, and then you look word for word and copy it into your actual cloth, into your actual parchment, into the Gvil, actually, for the Sefer Torah. But when it comes to Tefillin and Mezuza, because of how commonly read those phrases are, Shema, B'Hayim Shema, people know them by heart. So if you're confident enough, you know it by heart, then you don't need to copy a text when you're writing. My time was the reason, bigger is Gersinon, because it's something that people read constantly, and therefore it doesn't require you to look at the text, you can do it by heart. So this concludes that discussion with respect to shirtut, with respect to scoring, or almost concludes it. The Gemara continues with respect to the law of treatment of Sefer Torah, Mezuzas, etc. It says as follows. Rabbi Chelba, he says, he relates, Anoch Azisei, I saw, that Rav Huna D'Hava Yosef Apuraya, he was sitting on a bed, the Sefer Torah Allah, the Sefer Torah was on the bed. I use the word bed, but I think it's bed/bench. So he's sitting on this bed, and there's Sefer Torah lying there as well. Disrespectful, sitting on the same surface as a Sefer Torah. So what did he do? The kaf lakta ara, and he took a jug or a vase or something like that, and turned it upside down on the ground. Va'anach le'aleh Sefer Torah, and he put the Torah on that. So the Torah is not on the floor, and the Torah is not on the same surface of him, and And then V'hada Yosef Mita, and then he sat down on the bed. Kasavar, Sir Chalba concludes, I observe this, so we must imply that Rav Huna is of the view that Asar Leishav Agabi Mita, it is forbidden to sit on a bed or to sit on any surface, Sefer Torah Munach upon which a Sefer Torah is also resting. And this remains the halacha. Now, I'm not sure if the halacha is this way or not this way, with respect to other books, but certainly the way I grew up, I was taught that you don't sit on the same surface as any other holy book. I'm not sure if it's written in halacha, or if it's just, well, my parents taught me out of respect for Sfarim, but this is the way I grew up. Certainly when it comes to Sefer Torah, is halacha.
Never put a holy book on a chair at the same time.
Yeah, it would seem so,
Why-
just out of respect, yeah. I was growing up like, we didn't sit on the same surface as any book, you know. You finish it.
Except if you're sitting and holding it.
Yeah, I'm talking about you're sitting on a bench, on a couch, and next to you on the couch is a Tehillim. If you just growing up, you're reading Tehillim, reading a Siddur, and you're done with it, and you put it down on the bench. I was told by mother, father, whoever it is, pick it up. You don't
Would that
lose it.
include a surface that's normally used to hold a Sefer Torah or Sfarim?
Like a table.
Like sitting on this.
So
Or
there's two
sitting
problems
on,
there.
What are we doing downstairs, like on the
Bima.
benches?
On
Even
the
though there's no Sfarim on it.
Yeah, so the truth is that you're not supposed to sit on table at all. When it comes to a bima, the bima of a Sefer Torah, the bima where the Sefer Torah is read, it's a shaila if you're allowed to put anything on it besides for Sefer Torah. Even Sfarim. It's a shaila whether you're allowed to put Sfarim. Certainly not allowed to put a body, your own body, up on a bima. That's for sure not like the case. But even with respect to tables, just ordinary tables, there is such a idea. I don't know if it gets the same level of law, but there is such an idea of not to sit on a table. So when I was growing up, they told us that a table is a shulchan, is a mizbeach. A table is like an altar, and you don't sit on it. That's how I was taught. At any rate.
If you sit on it, they sacrifice you.
Hmm?
If you sit on it, they sacrifice you.
Yeah, about that, but you'll remember we looked in Brachas. You'll remember we learned in Brachas about the extent the Gemara talked about in terms of the respect one gives to food, not throwing it and not discarding it. So you respect for the table as well upon which we eat our food. This is the way I was raised.
So children are playing in the shul downstairs, and they're sitting on the bima. You should tell them to go out.
On the bima where the Sefer Torah is,
Not when the Sefer Torah is there. The Sefer Torah is back.
but like sitting on the bima where the Sefer Torah ordinarily goes.
Where the Sefer Torah is not really read. Let the bima downstairs.
The bima.
You should tell them to get off or leave them alone.
I would say, if for my children, I would tell them to go off.
Well,
Yeah.
But for a child to be up there, it's because an adult placed the child there.
No. I mean,
Some children are creative.
they play, you know.
No, but generally, I
Anyways.
understand what you're saying. Like somebody's holding like a young child, and they may rest the child on the
Inadvertently,
feet.
yeah. You should be trying to be cognizant of that. Anyway, yeah.
My question is this: what about Sefer Torah or a Chumash on your lap when you're studying? In other words, you sort of have it on your knee and you're looking down and you're looking at it, as opposed to putting it on the table. Is that permissible?
In the region of your knees, there are other organs, and just be a little polite to your svarim. That's all.
So
I don't know what the halacha is technically, but be polite. Remember, it's not a book, not a casual book you're reading. It's Hashem's Torah.
I have in my head, it's best to put it higher up. In other words,
Treat it with respect.
Put it up high.
It's not a book you lie in bed reading. It's Hashem's words, and treat it as such.
I was told.
At any rate, yeah.
that even when you're carrying your tefillin, even in your talis bag,
Yeah.
you should not carry tefillin below your waist, like below where you would like to put your.
Yes.
It's like it's disrespectful to tefillin to put it. So if that's the case, I would think a sefer or whatever. You shouldn't really put below
Yeah.
your waist.
Sounds right. Yeah.
Concept of high and low.
That's why it's
Yeah.
supposed to be in the bag on your back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what.
Okay.
Carry it like this, like you're carrying your attaché case.
Yeah.
Like you're going to court.
Notwithstanding all of this, but the truth is, you should know that actually, the halacha is, we learned this in brachas as well. When it comes to, if your tefillin are in two encasings, then it's okay to even take it into a bathroom. And this is important when you're traveling in an airport. Don't leave your tefillin out to get stolen. You can take it into the bathroom, just if it's not just in its own bag, but it's in your suitcase also, in your carry-on, then it's okay. But otherwise, just treat it with respect.
So tefillin, it's in its little case, and then it's in its pouch,
And that should be in your,
and that pouch should be in another.
before you go to take it into the bathroom, yeah.
Into another
Because the
bathroom.
pouch that you're having your tefillin is as a pouch designated for tefillin. So it gets it doesn't get the level of respect that tefillin require, but it gets.
No, but the tefillin already has.
I know, but I'm
its
saying that
location.
pouch, because that pouch is designated for tefillin.
Right.
It's not a pouch which you keep your documents and also your tefillin.
Right.
It's designated for tefillin. So even though it doesn't get the same level of holiness as the tefillin itself, but it does get some level. So that pouch, which is designated for tefillin, should be in another pouch which is not designated for tefillin. It's just an ordinary pouch, like your carry-on.
The Ziploc bag would work.
In theory, yeah.
Theory.
Now, the little plastic case, does that count as a...
Same thing. It's also designated for your tefillin.
Right.
All those things are designated for tefillin. At any rate, notwithstanding all of this, there's a different view in the Gemara, which does not get taken for halacha, but it exists. So Rav Chelba continues that he observed Rav Huna take the Torah that was sitting on the bed with him and put it on a upside down jug or vase to hold it up from the floor and not to sit on the same bench. And therefore Rav Chelba observed that this must be that Rav Huna is of the view that you're not allowed to sit on a bed where Sefer Torah is there, and that's the halacha. But, says Rav Chelba, Pliga de Rabba bar Chana. And this is in dispute with Rabba, the son of Bar Chana. The Amar Rabba bar Chana, Rabba son of Bar Chana said, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Muter leisha al geba mita. One is allowed to sit upon a bed, Sefer Torah monach, even when the Sefer Torah lying upon it. This is what his view, even though we don't accept this has halacha. And he continues, if someone to whisper into your ear, it's an expression of like someone's telling you off. And how is this person telling you off? By telling you, there was a story of a sage named Rabbi Eliezer, and he was sitting on a bed, and he remembered that there was a Sefer Torah sitting on the bed as well, and Rabbi Eliezer jumped off, Yashav, and sat agave karka on the floor of a doma, and it looked like like a snake was biting him. So there was a story going around. The Rabbi Eliezer was sitting on a bed, and he noticed the Sefer Torah, and he jumped off in such a haste or such a shock that it looked like he was bitten by a snake. So Rabbi bar Chana says in Rabbi Yochanan, if you're allowed to sit on a bed with Sefer Torah, and if someone tells you the story, relax. You got this story wrong. Because Hassam, over there the story was Sefer Torah agabe karka hava. The Sefer Torah was actually on the floor, which is straight up disrespectful, and therefore he jumped like that. But ordinarily you're allowed to sit on a bed with a Sefer Torah. This is the view of Rabbi bar Chana and Rabbi Yochanan. But as we noted, Rabbi Chelba observed from Rabbi Huna which did not sit on a bed with Sefer Torah, and that remains the halacha.
Should we presume that the Sefer Torah had a cover on it?
I would think so. Although it doesn't say so clearly. But I would think so. Like I said before, something that's designated for the Torah or tefillin gets not the same level of holiness, but a certain level of holiness as well. Okay. So the Gemara now gets to a few more halachas with respect to Mezuza, and we're going to get soon to the issue of Mezuza being a protector, being the source of a Jew's security. Okay, Amar Rav Huda Amar Shmuel. Rav Huda said the name of Shmuel. Kasva Igeres, if he wrote his Mezuza like a letter, Psula, it is invalid. What's the definition of writing it like a letter? Like a correspondence, like a letter. So the way Rashi writes it, Rashi gives two things, and why he does that is a wonder of many of the commentaries, including Tosfos. He says writing a letter is one of two things. He wrote it without any scoring, just wrote it like a letter, just on a parchment without the scoring, without the lines. And number two, because it's a letter and it's not a proper document like a book, he may have missed a yud here, a vav there, because yuds and vavs can sometimes be actual letters and sometimes can be vowels. No, sometimes they're vowels, not because they're size. But a yud can be a vowel, a yud can be a chirik, to tell you e, and a vav can be a chaylam, to tell you u, or to tell you oy, a chaylam or a shuruk. So when you're writing it like a letter and the person who's reading it understands what you're saying, you might leave out a yud or leave out a vav, because the vowel is there anyway. So he's writing it like a letter, he's missing those extra, the yud and the vav. So, and that's the definition of writing it like a letter. Two things Rashi says. Number one, he didn't put the scoring, and number two, he missed some of those vav yuds, which can be replaced as vowels. So what's the reason, says the Gemara? My time, what's the reason that writing it like this is invalid? Because asik ksiva misefer. We compare the word ksiva and the word ksiva to a book. So when a person publishes a book, you publish it properly. You make sure the lines are straight, and you make sure every word is properly written. When you're writing a letter to your friend, you're not so particular. So elsewhere in the Torah uses the word ksiva, which means to write, with reference to a book, a sefer. Rashi also gives two options here, which again, why Rashi giving two options? There are two times in the verse that Rashi cites where the Torah uses the word ksiva, writing, in respect to sefer, a book. One is when the Torah commands to write the sefer Torah. At the end of the Torah, Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu to write down this book. Right?
The one with
Yeshua. Sorry, it's even later. It's even later. When Hashem tells it's to Moshe Rabbeinu. But it's before. It's not the end of the Chumash, but earlier in the Chumash. When Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu to write down the Torah, Hashem says, write this as a remembrance, or as a testimony, as a book. So the Torah says to write the Sefer Torah like a book. So the word ksiva, writing, and the word sefer, book, come together, and therefore we learn that writing should be done like a book. And therefore, when the Torah says to write a Mezuza, we know from there that the writing should be written like a book, and that it should be particular. One option Rashi gives. The other option Rashi gives is the Torah says with respect to divorce that he writes to her a book of separation, Sefer Christus. Now the Sefer the get, the document of divorce, is very small. It's only about 10 lines, even less. And yet the Torah refers to it as a sefer, as a book, implying that the writing should be done as particular as a book. And therefore we compare the writing there, the fact that the Torah says to write it there like a book, so too the writing here by Mezuza is like a book. The point being that because the Torah here uses the word ksiva, writing, and elsewhere twice the Torah uses the word writing, and that writing should be done like a book with particularities, so too Mezuza should be done with particularities. This is Rashi's version of the Gemara. What?
Does this apply to tefillin as well? Since there
No.
was a distinction before with the
Here the Gemara doesn't say that. And that's a good question. And that's what Tosfos asks. Over here the Gemara is implying that the reason why you can't write it like, quote, a letter, is because the verse says ksiva, it should be written. And we derive that written means it has to be written like a book in all its particularities. Didn't you just finish saying that the scoring is derived not from the verse, but passed down by tradition from Moshe Rabbeinu? So according to you, Rashi, that the definition of a letter is that it's lacking the scoring, and we derive the fact that it can't be written without the scoring from the fact that the verse says you have to write it like a book, right? Implying it's not a tradition from Moshe Rabbeinu, but it's actually derived from the actual text of the verse, right? And therefore Tosfos says, indeed, that writing a letter is not talking about the scoring, because that you have to do anyway from the fact that we have a tradition from Moshe Rabbeinu that has to be done with the scoring, with the lines. The Gemara here only means lacking the letters Yud and Vav and doing them like treating them like vowels that you can take them out. And the question remains, why Rashi gives both options? And then he gives two options for the verses. This is a discussion in the commentaries, which we're not at liberty to get into, but at least a little bit. Some of it you alluded to earlier when the Rambam talks about how machlekes, but halacha l'meshim sinai, or if it's a limud, Rashi could be alluding to that as well, just because of the Rambam's principle. But at any rate,
Is Megillah required to be written as a book also? Say anything about that?
I don't know, but the Megillah in general were much more lenient. For example, you can have other colorings in there. You can have the kodesh if you want. You can have the vowels definitely in there.
If it's chaser or yaser, doesn't matter, but yeah.
It's even if it's if I'm not mistaken, the halacha when it comes to Megillah is if the words are changed, or sorry, not the words, if the letters are changed, but the content still, the translation will still be the same, then it's kosher. If I'm not mistaken, is that correct? I think with reading also, if you mispronounce a word in the Megillah, but so long as it doesn't change the meaning of what you're saying, it's also kosher. We're much more lenient. I shouldn't, don't take my word for this, but this is from memory, if I'm not mistaken.
But what do you mean by a book? I mean, a book you could write and edit and change and write it out of order.
Yeah, but the assumption is before you publish a book, you will have gone through all that editing, and when you publish it, you're going to publish it grammatically correct. And you'll get everything right. If you want to publish a book that people should read, not just a letter to your friend,
right,
to the public, you're going to make sure that first of all the layout is nice, that it's legible, that it's written properly, and that the grammar is right. So when the Torah uses writing as a book, it means write it with all its particularities. That's the implication. In other words, not just when you write a book, but when you publish a book. If you're publishing a book, you're going to do it right. This is especially true when it comes to the law of get, because get is, when the Torah says to write the Sefer Torah and call it a book, it makes sense. It's a book. It's how many pages? Hundreds of pages, hundreds of chapters. When the Torah says to write a get, divorce paper, like a book. How big is it? It's 10 lines, calling it a book. So there really the implication is you have to write it as particularly as you would write a book. Thus implying when the Torah tells you to write something, it should be written like a book.
But a book, if you make mistakes or whatever and go through the editing process, it could still be published. Whereas in the case of tefillin,
Okay, we're comparing it to the final product. We're comparing it to the final product, not to the... we're comparing it to the final product, not to the stages of how you write a book, but to the final product. The final product of a book is written particularly, so to your mezuzah, and its final product should be particularly.
Yeah, that's a very interesting. This is a story.
Yeah?
If you ever want to share.
Okay, we'll stop over
Why
here.
would he not want to share?
But tomorrow we're going to talk about the importance of making sure your mezuzah is not just written kosher. We've gone through the details of how particular it is with respect to the way the mezuzah is written and why she could be checked every now and again because of how many details are involved in writing it. And tomorrow and over the next couple of days, we'll get to the proper placement of mezuzah. Now that's also important. When you're putting up mezuzah, you should consult someone who knows the halachas because it's very detailed and sometimes very complicated as to which side you put the mezuzah on. And as we'll learn, if the mezuzah is not placed properly, it's just as invalid as if the mezuzah wasn't written properly. So if we're particular about making sure you get a good mezuzah that's written properly, we should be equally as particular about making sure it's placed properly, and that, God willing, we'll get to tomorrow.